What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Thank you for joining me today. As some of you may know, I have this fascination with Disney, and I wanted to talk about it. I don't get to talk about it much in my day to day, but my knowledge and love for all things Disney, from movies to the cartoons to the parks to the rides to from the parks to the cartoons, the TV shows, the movies, the rides, Imagineering, whatever it may be, the history. I love it all. And I wanted to share some of my love for it with you guys. So today I wanted to do my favorite Disney rides. Because I grew up on the East Coast, I've only been to Disney World. I do live in Arizona, and hopefully soon I will be able to go to Disneyland and experience Walt's original park. So for the sake of this video, all my favorite rides is going to be contained into the 4 parks in Florida.
Why, good evening, folks. Just look at this gathering of friends. Talk about magical.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Okay, so I'll keep it pretty simple, and I'll go over my favorite rides in the 4 Disney parks that I've been to, and this is excluding the water parks. So this is Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Studios, and Animal Kingdom. So how I'm breaking down my list is overall excitement, the theming of the ride, and what that ride has kind of meant to me over the years of going the amount of times I have. And this is excluding Galaxy's Edge, Mickey's Runaway Railway. I have yet to experience those rides. However, I'll probably reevaluate this after going to the parks whenever I get back. I think number 5 was the hardest because number 4 has been a lock for so long for me, and number 5 is kind of traded off back and forth. But I have to go with Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom. Just the thought and detail that went into the ride and the originality. There's nothing like it, even though it is a roller coaster. Believe it's made by Vekoma, and usually I don't like Vekoma roller coasters at other parks, but I think when they partnered up with Imagineering, they absolutely killed it. And how much detail they went in with, how Imagineering went and actually did a broad travel to Everest and got artifacts, and they documented everything of that culture, and they put that into the queue, and they built actual Everest in Animal Kingdom, and how you go up the ride and you go backwards, or you go forwards and you go backwards, and just all the little details within, like I said, within the queue and within the ride itself. Absolutely think it's an astonishing feat for them, and I think somewhere over like $100 million they invested into that ride alone, if I'm not mistaken. And then a cool little detail, if you go to Google Earth and you look down at Everest, it's actually a big hidden Mickey, how the track design is. And I think that those little details are so cool, and all that together makes Expedition Everest the top 5 for me, so number 5. And then coming in at number 4 is Space Mountain. Now, Space Mountain, I hear in Disneyland, is a better ride than it is in World. But I think it has to do with me growing up and loving, Star Wars and anything that extraterrestrial. I love all that kind of stuff. Or as a kid growing up, loved that. And just how you can't really see where you're going. You're in the dark, and there's sounds going on everywhere. I love in World that you're a single rider, and you kind of get to experience it by yourself. And if you get that front row, there's really nothing like it. And it's I just love how it's not the most thrilling thing in the world, but man, it feels like it. Even though you're going like something like 30 miles an hour. And I've heard the actual Space Mountain in Paris is by far the best. That steampunk style, futuristic. I would love to go sometime soon and experience that. I think they still do it at Disneyland, and they turn it at Halloween to Ghost Galaxy. And then on the regular times when it's not Halloween, it's Hyperspace Mountain. I believe that's still, don't hold me to that. Well, again, I haven't been to Disneyland. But I've heard fantastic things about those two. I hear it's just their carts are better. It's a smoother ride. But again, out of all the rides, number 4 to me. Coming in at number 3, this actually the top 3 was really, really hard, especially number 2 and 3, what order to put them in. But I put Haunted Mansion at number 3. You can't have Magic Kingdom and Disney World or Disney without Haunted Mansion. And what I love about this is it's really not. It is a IP, but it was a ride before it was an IP. So for you who don't know what IP stands for, that's intellectual property, and that's something like in like Frozen Ever After, or they're turning everything into IP. So Haunted Mansion was designed. It was one of Walt's originals. He built it without a movie attached to it. So I think that alone to me is something very special. That it's its own standalone ride, but later on, and I think in the early 2000s, Eddie Murphy did the Haunted Mansion movie, which is cool. But it's not something like Frozen, and Frozen turned into a ride, and they took over Maelstrom because of the movies. So yes, Haunted Mansion number 3. Just the story alone behind it, and the matching with the story to the music, Grim Ghosts, fantastic soundtrack.
Crypts all over the world. Actually, we have 999 happy haunts here, but there's room for 1,000.
And all the way through, it's a long ride. And then the pre-show, the theming with the stretching room, all of it put together, and it's an omni mover, and you go through the mansion, and you see all the hitchhiking ghosts, which to me is some of my favorite characters, if you will, from the Disney parks. I collect a lot of stuff from the Haunted Mansion. I think it's one of my favorite lines of like collectibles. And then, there's just so much to see and so much going on, and you can't really catch everything going through one ride. And I think that's one of my favorite things, is the re-rideability of it is so good, and you get so much out of every time, and you always see something different. And I think that's one of the main reasons I love Haunted Mansion. I love haunted attractions in general, especially around Halloween. Love going to haunted houses. So those two things match together. I think is what makes it one of my top fives for sure. Coming in at number two, I think one of the main reasons I put this at number two is I'm a huge thrill ride, roller coaster, anything that's like Cedar Point, Six Flags, anything like that. I love roller coasters. So that's why I made Big Thunder Mountain number two. I think Big Thunder is the best roller coaster that Disney has done. Again, theming, the queue, the interactiveness of walking through a queue, and there's those things that you can play with. I love. I'm actually named after a Western, Donovan's Reef. It's a John Wayne movie. My grandfather's John Wayne library is massive. I've seen a ton of Westerns. So, living now in Arizona, I live in the Midwest. So the whole like canyon, train ride through the canyon. It's a special ride. I love that area of the Magic Kingdom. Just the music, the smells, the sounds. So it all leading to Big Thunder, how it's right on the water, and you sweep around there with the big train right on the water. And I love how they're continuing to update it, refresh it with the, when you're going up the lift hill, you have 3D mapping. And another thing I really like is, most roller coasters, there's no theming pretty much at all. And it's just a big steel beam that goes over the ground and there's nothing under you. I think what I love about Big Thunder so much is that you are always close to the ground and there's always something going on, and you don't get that like everything has a purpose. And you always think you're going faster than you really are, because I think you're so close to the ground. And you're always intertwining and you're weaving back and forth, and I love that about that ride. So love Big Thunder Mountain. It's always a go-to ride when I go, if it's not a couple times. And then eat at Pecos Bill's right across the street. So goes hand in hand. Number one's tricky. So number one is a little tricky, because everything going on in the world, it got renamed, or it's going to be reimagined. It's a sad day for me, but like Walt said, the parks aren't a museum; they always are continuous changing. But Splash Mountain is my number one. Will probably always be my number one. I don't know how. We'll see when it becomes Princess and the Frog. I think it's in good hands, and I think that they're going to do a fantastic job. I love rides that take a while, but also still tell a good story. Again, back to theming. I don't think there's a better themed ride. There's better themed queues probably with like Pandora and Star Wars, but the theme, like, you're literally built into a side of a mountain, or they built a mountain. How can you get more themed than that? But with all the characters, the songs, Zippity Doo-Dah, everything works so well on that ride. And I love water rides. I love water parks. Good. It's a sad day for it to go, and I'm gonna miss it. And hopefully, I can get to ride it again before they close it down. I don't think I will be able to, depending on the next time I get to Orlando, or land opens up here soon and they still have it open, which hopefully they do. I've shared a lot of memories on that ride, taking some of my friends on that ride for the very first time. My dad and I rode that ride, and it's a very special ride to me. Again, that storytelling ability that Disney has, checks all the boxes. It has a little thrill, that big drop at the end. It hits right. It pulls on the heartstrings, and it was there when I was a kid. The first time when I went when I was 6, and it kept on delivering. And it's located back in Frontierland. That area is fantastic. It's funny that my top 2 is by the same Imagineer, and that is Tony Baxter. If I'm not mistaken, Tony Baxter both designed Big Thunder Railroad and Splash Mountain, so something he does right, and they're bringing him back on The Princess and the Frog, and so I think that's why I think it's in good hands. He's overseeing the project, and I think like I said, unfortunately it's time for change, and I'm excited to see what the future of that area is going to be and going to look like. Okay, so that was my top 5, and thank you so much for joining me tonight on my favorite Disney rides. And again, I want to continue talking about Disney, like my favorite hotels and parks and experiences and food and all those types of things. It just makes me so happy. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Wherever you are in life, cheers.